today we are starting a book called Moksha, which is a Sanskrit term for the ultimate goal in spiritual life, which is liberation, specifically from mental suffering. Many people feel like we have to go through life and just suffer until we get to the end of it. But the ancient yogis said, no, there is a way of permanently reaching a kind of state beyond suffering. It's rare that someone can do it. It's rare that someone even has the courage to embark on what it takes to attain moksha. But true spiritual liberation from the suffering of life is indeed possible. This is a novel written by Tara Lamont is her name, and she had sent this book to me through our lovely Sanghi, Sky Guardian, and she sent it along with a letter. So I'd like to read the letter before we begin. She had sent this on the 28th of September, 2024. She writes, "My dear Liam, I am very grateful and honored that Sky Guardian has generously offered to introduce my novel Moksha to you. In writing this novel, my ambitious and perhaps futile intent was to make the teachings of Advaita Vedānta more accessible to young readers, especially to self-absorbed millennials, using the popular form of fiction and story. So far, my few readers have commented that my novel is dense and requires a careful reading and patience. Swami Tadatmanandaji, who is the guru of both Sky Guardian and Tara, however, has kindly said he liked my writing and has since used me occasionally to review his writing for consistency. I should mention that Moksha is structured around an ancient story from the Shiva Puranas, where Parvati, also known as Uma, the mother of the universe, loses her memory and the worlds fall into chaos. Lord Shiva then uses Vedanta teachings and rigorous self-inquiry to force her to remember who she truly is. This calamitous event repeats itself in every aeon, and in this one, the mother of the universe is an American woman who is steeped in ignorance and oblivious as to her true identity. The gods, Shiva, who goes by the name of Siddha in this book, Vishnu, who goes by the name of Hari, Krishna, who goes by the name of Pepe, and Murugan, who goes by the name of Muthu. Shiva's bull, Narada, known as Miss Nandi, etc., take human form to make her remember before it is too late and the universe is destroyed. The novel charts her arduous journey from the Himalayas to the coastal plains towards self-knowledge, liberation, and enlightenment. Moksha. The demons, Gerhardt and Jonas, also have their part to play. Vedanta topics and teachings such as the 3 states of consciousness, the 3 realities, 5 sheaths, Maya, ignorance, contemplation, the Sanskrit language, and so on are interspersed throughout, sometimes in the form of dialogues. Even the ancient rishis' concept of human love and the tantric path to enlightenment are presented. Thank you, Liam, for all that you do and all you have accomplished. You are a miracle. God bless. Tara." What a wonderful letter that I am delighted to have along with this book, and an excellent introduction. I will add just on some terms. Advaita Vedānta is the teachings of non-dual Advaita, interpretations of the ancient revelations known as the Vedas, specifically the ultimate conclusions of the Vedas, the Vedanta. That's about it, really. All I wanted to do is clarify what Advaita Vedānta is. The idea of Advaita Vedanta is to understand that Atman, that one's true self, Atma, is one with Brahman, the ultimate reality. That is to say, we are like waves in an ocean, and we have to realize that our identity is not in separate waves, but in the inseparable water from the rest of the ocean. Without further ado, here is Moksha, a woman's journey to self-discovery and freedom from suffering. For my sister Gita, who brought the eternal light of Advaita Vedānta into my life. Part 1. Prajñānam Brahma. It's a quote from the Aitareya Upanishad, which translates it to Brahman is the highest wisdom. Preface. Gods and demons roam the earth. Once, long ago, Shiva, the Lord of the cosmos, failed to bring his beloved Uma, the mother of the universe, a garland made up of flowers from every season within his allotted time of 1 year. When her lord finally returned, late and without the garland, Uma was heartbroken. To punish him, she deliberately lost her memory of him and all that she was. The universe subsequently fell into chaos. The demons rejoiced and made plans to seize the 3 worlds. Indra, the king of the gods, appealed to the great Lord to set things right. Lord Shiva thus took on the task of bringing his beloved back to him with the aid of sacred texts. He enlisted the help of Lord Vishnu, the sustainer of the universe, and his consort, the goddess of wealth, Lakshmi, his sons Ganesha and Murugan, and his greatest devotee, Nandi, the bull, his Vahana, his vehicle. Within every yuga, such tales are told and retold, events enacted, lessons imparted. But in this Kali Yuga, a calamitous cycle of 4,320,000 years where we find ourselves, this story, while appropriate, is unraveling all too soon and well before its time. Chapter 1. We were crouched under 2 bent palms on this poor man's beach of coarse sand and rock. I, engulfed in shawls, a large pair of goggles across my face, as if set off for a polar expedition, and Siddha off to one side, cool and blank, idly tracking a large black ant as it maneuvered its way along a shriveled frond half buried in the sand. A dispiriting stale breeze came off frothy brown waves. I was keeping a wary eye on distant black shapes that swirled against a bleak sky. Vultures. 2 bodies had floated ashore the day before. Had they been left to rot? It's the cremation ground, Sid murmured, not looking up, but possibly referring to the birds. The ant gracefully alighted from its perch and sped across the hot sand. Fiodole megacephala, Sid exclaimed, then added dolefully, jellyfish, limpets, tiny crabs, the small sea creatures have all gone, but that big-headed ant has not given up. He will see us to the end. He scooped up a handful of sand, scrutinized it, and let it slip through his long fingers. There's no life here, he said of the sand. A malevolent red disk sluggishly came into view. Here comes the sun, I said cheerfully. The sky remained a stubborn grey, but the limpid sea stirred, then churned into an oily chartreuse. The dark shapes wheeled and swooped as raucous pleas to the divine orb issued from the temple. Soon the heat would drive us into the shadows. I stood and dusted off my shawls. "I'd love a cup of coffee," I said. Siddha also stood and shook out his sandals. We set off slowly, loitering for a few minutes at a seashell stall where its rotund proprietor, comically propped up on a stool, eyed us with a calculating early morning optimism. Horizontal ash stripes and a large red dot decorated his expansive forehead, broadcasting, I presumed, that he had completed his morning rituals. Why did he imagine that anyone would be interested in his wares at this hour? Hadn't the civil war that raged in the neighboring island discouraged all but the most wretched devotees and foolish do-gooders like ourselves from coming here? Sunrises and seashells, the main produce of the region. There was also the great temple. Mercifully, the man with no arms and legs, who lay on a mat in the blazing sun and screamed all day long, had not yet reported for work. "I give you half price, missus," the man shouted at me, ignoring Siddha. "You say price you like, missus." I picked up a conch shell, delicate and pink, held it to my ear and became absorbed in the deep rushing sound that was so like the ocean. I gave the man a few coins and slipped the shell into my bag. We meandered, single file, darting this way and that to sidestep the sidewalk sleepers and bell-ringing bicycles weighed down by loads that teetered on handlebars and back seats. The business of the day had begun. Siddha took a sharp right onto a muddy path and stopped at a cafe, a thatched overhang with communal tables. Sadhus draped in orange and bedecked with necklaces of corrugated beads were silently bowed over their meals. We washed our hands at a grimy metal trough and Siddha chose a spot farthest away from them. All had stylish dreadlocks and elaborate coils and the 3 horizontal ash lines across their foreheads. I slid into my seat and removed my goggles. "What's with the lines of ash and the dreadlocks?" I asked, playing the tourist. "Lord Shiva," he said abruptly. Neither I, blue-eyed, deeply tanned, tall, skinny, with dirty blonde hair in a knot, nor Siddha, also tall, pale, leonine, with dark melancholy eyes and dark hair to his shoulders, prompted any interest. "These are intensely religious sannyasis, renunciates," he said as he beckoned to a boy in yellow t-shirt with the words, "Cool kids never sleep," emblazoned across the chest. The boy hurried over with flattened banana leaves that he placed in front of us, then went away. "The coiled matted hair protects the energized crown," Siddha continued dryly, "and the necklaces, malas made up of rudraksha seeds. When coiled around the matted hair, bring a cooling energy. The lines of ash symbolize the Lord as rest, stability, and serenity. Each stripe represents a stain, an illusion to overcome. The ash is cooling to the third eye and provides valuable trace minerals." The boy returned with a bowl of sambar, a spicy lentil soup with dried red chilies floating on the surface, steaming rice cakes, idlis, and coconut chutney. Sid dipped a piece of an idli in the sambar. "It was 5 years ago, wasn't it?" I said with a polite smile. "When we met at a fancy hotel in Manhattan on New Year's Eve. A lifetime ago, several continents away. You asked me to dance. We spun around the floor, twirling, bending, reaching. When Ricky Martin's Jaleo began its frantic drumbeat, you threw me across and I dragged you around by your tie. People made way for us. Do you not remember? He did not respond. I went on. We were hot and breathless from dancing, and we dashed out to a terrace for air. It was very cold. You stared up at the dark sky with its twinkling stars and said, "What's there is here, and what's here is there." "The Lord of Death," you said, speaking to a little boy. Do you not remember? It was the night Rory got on one knee and placed a square-cut solitaire on my ring finger. It was the night we left a woman to die. The night my world collapsed. "Nāciketa," he said. "Nāciketa," I repeated, not touching the food. Yes, the little boy's name. It was 5 years ago. Do you not remember? I remembered. New Year's Eve in New York City. I was drunk, high, barely coherent, but on that starry night I had listened closely to his story of the boy Nāciketa, who becomes distressed when he sees his father give away sickly old cows as charity. The boy pesters his father, tugs at his coat, but cannot get his attention. "To whom will you give me, father?" the boy asks in desperation. His father ignores him, but the boy asks his question over and over again. "I give you to death," his father shouts, exasperated. The boy knows his father has spoken in anger, but to save his father's honor, he sets off to meet death. But death is not at home. The boy waits outside the gates for 3 days and nights without food or drink. Death returns and is horrified at the gross inhospitality shown to the boy by his household. To make up for this infraction, Death grants the boy 3 boons. 2 are easily granted. For the first, the boy asks that his father is told that he is alive and to forgive him for leaving, and that he will return. For the second, the boy asks to be taught the fire ritual that leads to heaven, and knowing which all of humanity would benefit. And the third boon, that stymies death. The boy wants to know about the afterlife, and no one was a better authority on this thorny subject than the Lord of Death. Death offers gold, horses, lands, people whom he may be attracted to, but the boy cannot be persuaded. He insists that Death teach him about that infinite space beyond the heavens. He wants to be shown the path to immortality and the liberation from suffering. I leaned forward. Do you really not remember? I insisted you tell me Death's response to the boy right away, and you said that the path to this knowledge was more difficult than walking on the edge of a razor. I waited for a sign of recognition, an acknowledgement of this shared memory. 5 years had gone by, and here we were in the city of Rameshwaram, on the southern tip of India, a lost corner of the world, attending a conference entitled Accessing Big Data to End Food Insecurity. I knew Sid immediately when we were checking in, but while he nodded, I could see that he had no idea who I was. I introduced myself and he simply said, "Sid," and extended a hand. We shared a few seminars, and noting that a free morning was scheduled the next day, agreed to take in the sunrise highly touted by the hotel manager. "Sunrise is most beautiful in the world," the manager promised. "Tomorrow morning you will see. Beach is right here only." As we set off for the short walk to the beach at dawn, the manager, who was stretched out on a couch in the lobby, called for us. Finish sunrise, then we are giving full tour of greatest temple in universe, Rameshwaram Temple, here only. And we'll pause our reading of Moksha there for now and continue next time. Backstory. The slow unfolding of characters, gaining context of where we are. I love beginning stories because it's like you too are waking up from a kind of amnesia until you feel like you have a firm grasp on where the characters have come from and where the story has headed. It's very dreamlike, and I like that. Not unlike the nature of the memory of our dear Uma having been erased, and Shiva coming back with his associates, incarnate to reveal the truth of the soul, aeon after aeon. I look forward to continuing to read this with you next time.